Hello, everyone, and welcome to Natural Grocer's Nutrition Education presentation. We are so pleased to present Dr. Andrew Hall. Dr. Hall is Doctor of Chiropractic and owner of Wealth Spine KC. Welcome, Dr. Andrew.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Andrew Hall, and as Janine said, I am a chiropractor. I am also a wellness expert. Our current practice is in Overland Park, Kansas, but we used to own a practice out in the Boston area. This presentation is probably the most popular presentation that I and my staff have been giving for over the last 12 years. We've done this in hundreds of offices, in church groups, in gyms, and we talk about stress in such a way that people understand not only why stress and how we manage stress plays such an important role in our health, but 3 simple and easy things that you can be doing right after this workshop to not only help manage stress, decrease how stress affects your body, but just help you feel better over time. So I hope you enjoy the presentation, and I hope you stay healthy.
Okay, thank you, and here we go.
All right, everybody, welcome to Stress Busters. I'm going to tell you right now that this is my favorite workshop to give, and there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, everybody wants to hear about stress and how to decrease stress, and this has just been a really well-received workshop. It's something that we've done continually. The second reason is this is the workshop I've done the most. I have actually been going out into communities. I've gone to churches, I've gone to corporations, to law offices, to gyms, and we have done this workshop on the 3 secrets to stress management. In the last 18 months, I've probably done 100 of these, and the most requested one is about stress and the 3 secrets to stress management. So I'm really excited to be doing this workshop for you guys and with you guys. If you haven't seen us yet, if you're watching us on Facebook already, you know this is true, but there's a lot of content that we've been continually putting out on Facebook, on Instagram, on our website. We're continually updating it all of the time. When COVID hit, it just fast forwarded our plans to put everything online. Basically, I've put everything online other than adjustments. And, sometimes I wish I could, but chiropractic is a hands-on profession, so, but everything else, we've moved over to Facebook, we've moved over to YouTube. So if you're just finding us for the first time, we have hundreds of videos on our Facebook page. We have lots of videos on YouTube talking about stress, talking about headaches, talking about low back issues. So there's so much other information that you can go on for free. Just click on that. Go over to our YouTube channel, go to our Facebook page, check that out. I know you'll just get a lot of great information and content on there. I'm so stressed out over being stressed out that I can't remember why I'm stressed out, and it's stressing me out. And that one, usually when I'm in front of a live audience, gets a good laugh because people are like, yeah, that was me on Tuesday. Stress is a big deal, and let me show you how big of a deal it is. We're going to talk about this handsome devil just for a second. This is me, and this is me getting ready to graduate chiropractic college. And for those of you who don't know, we chiropractors, we have the same amount of education as a medical doctor. It's the same amount of hours. It's 5 years postgraduate. Dr. Lisa and I, we decided to go to Davenport, Iowa, and get our degrees at Palmer College of Chiropractic. And they said, listen, you guys can do the 5 years, but we have a program where you can do it. Basically, you condense it down, and we'll do it in 3.5 years. You basically just don't take summers off. You do 3 semesters a year. We call it trimesters. You do 10 of those, and you're going to save time and money. And we were like, hey, that's a great idea. It was awful. It was the hardest thing that I had ever done academically. And for those of you who know, and just to give you a little idea on this, every semester was 33 credit hours. And those weren't your average Comp 101. These were very high level anatomy, physiology, chemistry level courses. And so it made me sick. I worked and stressed out for 3.5 years. And we talk about stress in 3 different ways in our office. And this is what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about chemical stress, physical stress, and emotional stress. And I hit all 3 of those really hard for 3.5 years. And I got out of school, I was getting ready to graduate, and it's the sickest I'd ever been in my entire life. And when I finally did graduate, my body just said no. I wanted to get out and practice, and I wanted to practice a certain way, and my body said no. It had beat me up, or I had beaten it up for the last 3.5 years. And I had had this heart that I wanted to help people. I just paid all of this money for this knowledge and diploma, and my body just said no, that I couldn't do that. So I was really at a crossroads in my life at that point in time, and I believe everyone says hindsight's 20/20, but I believe that there are certain times in our lives when we're in a situation where we're about to make some decisions, and we know that those decisions are about to take our lives in one of two directions. And I was at that place, and standing there looking at it, there was one direction where it was a life of probability. And the probability, it was a life of possibility. I'm getting my ones confused here. I'm going to go back. It was a life of probability, meaning that if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm probably going to get the same results. Meaning if I keep my life living the way that it's been living, I'm going to keep getting that. I'm going to keep getting sickness. That is probably going to happen. And then the other road was the life of possibility, and that's what the potential was. That's what I could become. Those are the things that I could change. So at that decision, I chose the life of possibility. And I made two choices at that point in time. Number one, I'm never going back here. I'm never going to let that happen again to me. I'm never going to let my health slip, because that didn't happen overnight. I didn't wake up one morning and weigh 20 pounds less than I could and have trouble walking up and down stairs. No, there were red flags along the way. I just ignored them. I thought there were other things in my life that were more important at that time than my health. And frankly, you can only do that for so long before your body makes you pay for it. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I decided I'm going to get my health back on track, and I'm going to get it the best where I can. And then the second one was, not only when I get there, I want to keep my health there for the rest of my life. Because we've been lied to as a society that as you age, you're supposed to get sicker, you're supposed to get weaker, you're not going to be able to do the things that you want to do, and then you're going to finally die weak and increpid and not knowing who your family is. And frankly, that is just simply not true. So that is what the philosophy for our office, where yes, we are great at helping people deal with pain and symptoms when they have them, but we are a wellness-based corrective chiropractic office. We want to help people not only deal with the pain and symptoms that they have, but we want to teach them how to live a healthy lifestyle, and we'll get more into that later. But here are the objectives that I want to do for this evening. These are foundational principles that you need to do to even begin to start being healthy. So that's really the secrets when it comes to 3 secrets of stress management. So I'm going to jump past this. So what do you think the biggest cause of chronic disease in our society is? And when I say chronic disease, I do mean the big ones. I do mean heart disease. I do mean most forms of cancer. I do mean diabetes and lung issues and all of these things that really are plaguing about 50% of Americans right now. It all comes back to this one thing. And if you're already saying stress at home, you're right. It absolutely is stress, but it's not just stress, it's chronic stress. It's slips and falls, it's car accidents, what we consider macro traumas, the big stresses. It's all sorts of chemistry that we're dealing with, but it's also the micro stresses. It's the micro things, from sitting too much, from not moving enough, from eating an unhealthy lifestyle. I mean, 435 north at 5:30 in the afternoon. It's stressful. It's tough. And we've been dealing with that for a long period of time. And I want to show you how big a deal chronic stress is in our society and the things that we're dealing with. Now, I read this article and I read the statement out of Johns Hopkins University. It's one of the leading medical research hospitals in the world. And here's what they said. The typical American goes through more physical, chemical, and emotional stress in 30 days than our grandparents did in their entire lives. Think about that. Because when I read that, my BS meter went off. I'm not kidding. I was like, that can't be true, because I started thinking about my grandfather, my Grandpa Hall, who was down in southern Kansas, who was a farmer, and I thought about his life. He grew up in the Great Depression, and then they followed that up with World War II, and then let's follow that up with the Cold War, and then let's follow that up with Korea and Vietnam that he almost had to send his sons to. There was a lot of stress there. There were some really big world events that was causing chaos. And he dealt with that through his entire life. But then I also started thinking about other things about Grandpa Hall. He was a farmer, so the man never sat. I mean, we had a joke as grandkids when Grandpa came in to have his lunch and maybe sit down for a few minutes. It was, how long was it going to take for Grandpa Hall to fall asleep? Because if he was sitting, he was probably falling asleep. The man was always on the move, did not sit as much as we did. There was no such thing as organic foods on the farm because it was all organic. He grew almost all of it, and any animals that he killed to eat, he knew them or raised them himself. And then finally, when it came to his social aspects, his entire family and most of his close friends lived within 2 miles of him. He was deeply connected and deeply rooted. And I think if we think about most of our grandparents, that was the lifestyle that they lived. And we have none of that anymore. And this is really what's going on when it comes to stress and how it's affecting our lives. And by the way, this is based back in 1996. The American Journal of Health Promotion. In 1996, 75% of the population experienced frequent great stress. At that time, they were thinking it was around 90%. 70 to 90% of all the visits to the doctor were stress related. Doc, my stomach hurts. Why? I'm stressed out. Doc, I have all of these headaches. Why? I'm continually stressed out. Doc, my low back hurts. Why? I'm stressed out. That was back in 1996, and that the World Health Organization described stress as a worldwide epidemic in 1996. You guys, I got my first email address in 1996. Do you think stress has gone down or up since then? It's gone up huge since then. And here's what the recent stats are also telling us about this, and this is out of the National Institute of Health in 2017. 50% of American deaths are from the top 5 chronic diseases: heart disease, cancer, diabetes, lung issues, and then strokes. And they're saying that most of those things are completely preventable. Completely preventable. Number 2, 1 in 5 of women have an autoimmune disease, 7 times higher in women than it is in men. And then finally, 1 in 4 children have one of the 4 A's: autism, ADD, ADHD, asthma, and allergies. And if you don't think asthma and allergies is a big deal with a kiddo, you've never sat up with one at 1 o'clock in the morning trying to help them breathe. These are huge health issues that are facing our society. And by the way, that was back in 2017. That was before the huge nuclear bomb of stress got dropped on us called COVID-19. So stress is a huge deal when it comes to our health. And I'm just going to show you a couple stats here because I want you to understand what it's doing and how it's taxing our health system. Right now, as we're going through another political cycle, and always healthcare keeps coming up and keeps coming up all of the time. And here is why. We as Americans spend more money on healthcare than any other country in the world. Per capita, it's $10,000 per person. That's about they say the estimates are about $2.3 trillion a year goes into healthcare. Now, some people are saying, that's great, that's awesome. And I would say, great, let's spend more money on healthcare, but are we getting the results that we should? We're spending almost double what our closest competitor is as far as healthcare goes. So America, you would think, would be pretty good when it comes to health. Nope. This is the Bloomberg report back in 2019. America ranks about 35th. And this isn't a surprise. This wasn't a glitch in that. America's been ranking anywhere from about 35 to 45 for the last 10 to 15 years when it comes to healthcare. Very low when it comes to healthcare. Basically, we're paying for the Ferrari, but we're driving a Honda Civic when it comes to healthcare and the results that we're getting. Here's what that looks like, because we talk about trillions of dollars and we talk about health rankings and all of that stuff. Here's what that actually looks like. The US ranks 35th in life expectancy at birth, or 34th, I should say. How many babies die before their first year of birth? Way down here. The countries that are in front of us: Lebanon, Chile, Belgium, Slovenia, all of these places you would think, hey, we should have a better healthcare system than that. We don't. Especially when it comes to infant mortality rates, which is shocking. Here's what it comes down to. People have never been sicker. And this was pre-COVID. I've been talking about stress for a long period of time, and I was talking about all of these things before COVID, and this is still true. The CDC came back in 2009 and said that for the first time in the history of man, children born after the year of 2000 will not live as long as their parents. And when I heard that, that pissed me off. Because not only am I paying for this system in which my son won't live as long, but my kiddo, who was born in 2011, won't live as long as I am. Statistically speaking, will not live. That's what it looks like on the ground. Not only is it affecting kids at birth, it's affecting them for their entire periods of life. Every red that we go through there, every symptom or diagnosis in the red has its roots in stress, for the most part. I'm painting with a really broad picture here, but I want you to understand so much of the things that we get susceptible to come back to stress. I'm going to hit on this one real quick. Depression, anxiety, and insomnia. Do you think those have gone up since March 2020 or 2020? Yeah, huge. We've seen a huge increase of depression, anxiety, and insomnia in our practice and our society around. And here's how it gets rooted in stress, is that all of your happy hormones, your oxytocins, your melatonins, your serotonins, all are rooted in the thyroid. And they do not operate if your adrenal glands, which is where most of the stress hormones are coming from, they don't work. You got to think of your adrenal glands as the gas, where the gas pedal's coming from. Up here's the brake. You can't run both at the same time. You can't do that. You can't push on the gas and the brake in your car at the same time and expect to go anywhere. It's the same thing with our bodies. When we run those stress hormones so hard, it shuts down your serotonins, your melatonins, and your serotonin and your oxytocins. And by the way, those hormones help us sleep, help us connect to other people, and calm down. So, in a lot of ways, there's a real chemical relationship between stress and depression and anxiety. I want to bring that up because there's ways of balancing that out, and I wanted to show you that. Here's the big deal. All right, so 3 types of stress: physical, emotional, and chemical. We're going to hit on all 3 of these at a pretty rapid pace. Again, if you have any questions, just type them in right there, and we're going to go through them. We're going to start with physical stress because this is a big one, and I want people to understand how much their daily habits really influence this. So physical stress. How does your body move every day? This is where it starts. Hopefully it is not this gentleman right here. I really hope that's not your posture at work. I don't know if he's taking a nap. Maybe this looks a little familiar. For some of us who have been working at home since March, here's another one. Here's why posture is such a big deal. And we can all do this at home, so I want you guys to do this together with me. Let's just participate a little bit at home on the Zoom call. So what I want you to do is sit up straight in your chair. Wherever you're at, just nice, sit up straight, get on the edge of your chair. Don't have your back touching the back. I want you to roll those shoulders back just a couple times. It should feel really good. Again, when we get stressed, our shoulders start creeping up like that. We want to relax those muscles right through that area right there. Good. I want you to take a deep breath in right now, sitting up straight. And then let it all the way out. That should feel really good. Let's do it one more time. And out. Awesome. Here's what I want you to do now. I want you to bring your head forward as far as you comfortably can. No world records, but let's get it out there a little bit. Good? So, let's take that deep breath in again. And out. Try it one more time. And out. Notice the difference there? Get out of that posture. It's a terrible posture. When we bring our heads forward just 2 inches, not only does it increase the weight of our heads by 32 pounds, it decreases your lung capacity by 30%. 30%. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, what happens when it comes to forward head posture. And that's where a lot of people end up with this. Honey, how was your day? Great, how was yours? We're all forward head posture. We live in a society of forward head posture. Honey, I'm gonna go to bed and watch some Netflix. I really hope this is none of you guys. But again, forward head posture, it all comes back to that. Sitting is the new smoking. It's so stressful on our bodies. When people think about physical stress, they think of the macro traumas, the car accidents, the sports injuries, the concussions, and those are a big deal. But it's also, what are you doing every day? And most of us are sitting way too much. Now, we talk about posture because it's not just about an aesthetic thing where it's like your mom told you to sit up straight and it's really healthy for you. No, it's a foundation for how our bodies move in space, and it's a really big deal, especially when it comes to health. Hans Selye won, I'm gonna go back to that one real quick. Come on. Hans Selye won a Nobel Prize for the research that he did when it came to posture and the nervous system. The beginning of the disease process begins with postural distortions. And they said, Hans, which disease process? And he said, all of them. All of the disease processes come back to your posture and postural distortions. And then another great medical doctor, Dr. Alfred Bragg, the loss of the cervical curve stretches the spinal cord 5 to 7 centimeters and produces a pathological tension, putting the body in a state of disease. Basically what happens when you bring your head forward like that, it stretches out your spinal cord. It causes a pathological tension and puts you in a state of disease, this, over time. And again, we do so much of that in our society right now as we sit. And what that does, that pathological tension causes what is called as subluxation. Nerve stress on the spine. I want you to think of your spine as just a power panel for your entire body. It's running 3 trillion messages a second through that spinal cord. And when you do this, it puts a pathological tension on it, what we call vertebral subluxation. Now, this is how it shows up. This is what's going on when it does this. These are the common symptoms associated with just forward head posture, headaches and migraines. This is the number one reason why I see people in our office. People think it's low back pain. It's not. It's headaches and migraines. That's the number one reason why people walk into my office. Neck pain, TMJD, shoulder, arm, and hand pain, arthritis, thoracic outlet syndrome, thyroid issues, shooting pain down in the arms and hands. All of those things have a root in this. And it can cause such a huge host of things. And the reason for that is how neurologically sensitive the neck is. The neck has a ton of sensory information and motor information going through there. And that's why it can cause so many different things. So, here's the solution to that. Move. I used to have this slide actually used to say exercise, but I was getting booed all of the time. So I just switched it over to move. But you need to exercise. We need to move. We sit too much. All of that thing is happening. And I love this slide. Ask your doctor if getting off your ass is right for you. It is. In so many different ways. We need to move. Our bodies cannot defend against sedentary motion. It cannot defend against sitting too much. We have no genetic defense for that. We have to move. And so I always put, people ask me the question all of the time, how should I be exercising? What's the exercise program? Pilates, yoga, CrossFit, weightlifting. And I just say, do something that you love. Exercise and do something that you love to do, that you think I can do consistently, because especially at the end of the year when everyone makes their New Year's resolutions and people get up there and like, I am going to walk on the treadmill for 35 minutes in order to burn 400 calories. Please stop doing that. You're making yourself miserable. You're making the people around you miserable when you do that, and you quit in 2 weeks. Find something that you love to do that engages you, that you'll do consistently. Or here's another way to look at it. Find something that you love to do, and it may not be exercise, but exercise will make you better at it. I had a woman come in to me recently, and she said, Andrew, I'm getting ready to retire. I love working in the garden. I want to work in the garden. My goal is when the weather's nice enough, I want to work in the garden 3 to 4 hours a day. Can you help me do that? And I said, absolutely. So we set up an exercise routine for her to do that. And it was a lot of squats. It was a lot of core and all of those things. Find something that you love to do, be it playing on the ground with the kids or the grandkids, another sport, something like that, where you can exercise and you'll stay consistent and you'll see the results for that. Oh, and by the way, exercise makes you happier. This is out of the Lancet in 2018, 1.2 million Americans. And it didn't matter how they exercised. They took a certain amount of people who made this amount of money, but they exercised, and they took a certain amount of people who made this amount of money, but didn't exercise. These people right here, by far, were happier. Now, obviously, I mean, the goal, this would be nice, but down here, exercise makes you happier. Scientifically proven. Huge study about that. Think about that when it comes to exercise. And I also want you to think about this. No matter how slow you go, you're still lapping everybody on the couch. Do not beat yourself up for not being in the shape that you used to be in, or not being able to achieve the things you think you should. Get out there and do the work, and you will get to that point in time. No matter how slow you go, you're still lapping everybody on the couch. Okay? Good. All right, next stressor. Little hint here. Time check. We're doing great. Chemical stress. Where do you think most of us get most of our chemical stress on a daily basis? What is the source of most of our chemical stress? Any guesses out there? A lot of thoughts? Here it is. Most of you are probably doing this right now as you watch this Zoom webinar wherever you are at home. It's food. Whatever we put in our mouths. And some of you are like, that is disgusting. And some of you are like, that looks pretty good. So here's the thing, is I'm not going to do a whole seminar on food. We could sit here and talk for hours about food. There are webinars out there that talk about food. Dr. Lisa does a nutrition workshop where she spends an awesome hour talking specifics because people have so many questions about it. Here's how I want you to think about food. Stress or no stress. There are certain foods that add stress to your body, huge amounts of stress to your body. There are certain foods that do that, and most of you probably wouldn't have to guess too hard about what foods those are. Most of them, you can get them through the drive-thru. Huge amounts of stress on our bodies. But I also want you to understand there are foods that take stress away from our bodies, that decrease stress. And these are those foods, and I know some of you are already looking at the chocolate, but there's also lean meats, fruits, guac, veggies, sushi's in there as well. There's some great foods out there that actually take away stress. So here's how I want you to think about this. All of us during the week tend to have one day that's more stressful than others. For me, it's Thursday. Thursday's end of the week, it's a long day. So I set it up so when we come home and we're having dinner that night, I am going to probably have some kind of steak. We're going to have a salad. We're going to have a veggie on the side. I'm probably going to have a glass of red wine, and that in certain amounts does decrease stress as well. And there might be some dark chocolate at the end of that. That sounds pretty good, right? I just took stress away from my body. I just decreased the stress in my day right there. Now, I could also do the other one where it's like, honey, I'm too tired to cook. I'm just going to pick something up on the way through the drive-thru. I just added stress into my day. I just made a stressful day more stressful. And they say that certain foods out there, certain processed foods, things you get through the drive-thru, fast foods, it's like, chemically speaking, having a blowout fight with your spouse. That's how our bodies react to that stress. So, really understand that it plays a big role in what you're eating and how much stress you deal with. So here's the solution to that. Or, by the way, these are some fabulous books out there about food. Lisa and I get asked all the time, how do you guys tend to eat? And we tend to go towards that paleo side, which has always worked great for us. There's some changes with that, and that's why I like Rob Wolf's book, Wired to Eat. He's kind of the grandfather of the paleo movement, but The 4-Hour Body by Tim Ferriss is great. Grain Brain, groundbreaking stuff by David Perlmutter, and then the Ultimate Health Podcast has had all of those people on there, and you could just listen to them talk about their books for 30 minutes and see if you want to dive deeper into it. So here is the solution when it comes to chemical stress. Water. Drink more water. All of us need to drink more water. And really, here's the formula for it. You take half your body weight, you divide it in half, and that's how many ounces per day you need to drink of water. So I weigh 210 pounds, so I need to drink 105 ounces a day of water. And if I work out like I did today, I need to drink more of that. So that's about 4 to 5 liters a day. I'm going to drink some water right now. Now, some of you are already sitting there saying, I'm going to pee a lot. Yes, you are. And that is a really good thing. It is good for your digestion. It is good for your kidneys. It is good for your liver. It's so good for so many different things. I love this slide. Drinking 1 gallon of water a day helps you avoid other people's drama because you're too busy peeing. I love that. And again, not a gallon a day, but we need to be drinking more water, and here's the reason for that. 75% of your brain, water, regulates your body temperature. For those of you who are always cold or always hot, and no matter what you're wearing or season it is, you're one of those things, you're chronically dehydrated. I would think that's the first place to start, the easiest place to start. We could get into thyroid stuff later. That's the first place to start. You're chronically dehydrated. It helps convert food into energy, makes up 75% of your muscles. If you're getting up from your chair, from sitting too long, because you're probably sitting too long and you're doing the old man shuffle where you're like, okay, I'm going to get there eventually. Or you wake up in the morning and your muscles are stiff and sore and it takes you 45 minutes to get going during the day, you're probably chronically dehydrated. All of these things come back to water. So, and it's simple, it's easy, it's there. So again, half of your body weight in ounces per day. If you exercise, more. It'll really, really show you some great benefits with that. Everybody good? Cool? All right, I'm going to pause for more water. And again, you guys, if you have questions about this, if you want to know more about what it is that we do in our office and exactly how we go about this, click on that Calendly link. We're happy to set up a time where we can sit down and Zoom with you guys. We can talk further about this. We offer free consultations in our office where you can come into the office and have a conversation with Dr. Lisa and I about some of your health concerns. A lot of people love the Zoom thing because you don't have to leave your home, but you get to connect with a doctor and we can give you some ideas on what to do. Okay, good. All right, so here we go into the last one, emotional stress. Do I really need to talk about emotional stress? Really? I think we all know that. I think we all have had a good dose of emotional stress in the last 6 months. I think we know what emotional stress is pretty well by the time you've spent about 2 years on this planet. I was driving Jackson home the other day from school when he was going to school. It was about a year ago. And he's sitting in the back, and he's 7 at the time. And he's doing this. You know your kid, they have that trigger, that phrase where something's off, and he's I'm like, Jax, what's going on, dude? How was school? And he's like, Dad, sometimes you just have to say you're okay, but you're not really okay. He was 7, you guys. He knew that at 7 years old. How many of us are walking around right now saying it's okay, but it's not really okay? And I think that's where a lot of our emotional issues and that's where a lot of our mental health issues come from, is people feel like they have to say it's okay, even when they're not really okay. And there's a spectrum when it comes to these kind of things. There's a spectrum of the stoic people who are like, everything's fine, everything's fine. I don't know why I'm crying, I'm just crying, so that's what's going on. And then there's the other side of the spectrum, the people who are like, oh, you think you had a bad day? Let me one-up you on that one. They're the one-uppers when it comes to stress and emotional stuff. We need to find that balance. Because you know what? Life, this is part of it. This is part of what's going on with life. It's going to go up and down. But what we want to do is try to control it where it's not as big up and it's not as big down, but it's in that good place where we're kind of getting better and better as we go along. And I want you guys to understand that stress is cumulative. Stress is a biotoxin, just like radiation would be, or mercury or something like that. It builds up in our bodies, and our bodies have to take time to get rid of it over time continually. It builds up. So you need to be doing certain things like exercise and drinking water in order to balance that out and in order to be getting rid of it. What's the biggest factor that determines emotional stress? You do. You are the person that determines the biggest factor when it comes to determining emotional stress. We do not have preset places that help us deal with stress. It's not it's like happiness. No one has just said, this is how happy you're going to be for the rest of your life. And your brother may be a little bit better, or your sister's down here. It's not that way with stress. It's not that way with happiness either, frankly. We can teach our bodies how to deal with stress better and better. And let me use this guy as an example. How much do we love this guy? Love this guy. Is his job stressful? Of course it's stressful. 3 hours on a Sunday. He has 11 of the largest people you have ever seen in your entire life moving faster than you ever thought someone could move that fast. And their one job on the other side of the defense is to kill him. It really is that way. And if they hit him so hard they knock him out of the game, even better. That's stressful. Do you think he could do what he's doing right now as the Chiefs quarterback when he was in high school? He had potential. There was something there. He had talent. He worked on it. But even in college, he wouldn't have been able to do this. He has built his body up. He has built his mind up. He's built his emotions up to deal with the stress that comes at him on those Sunday times. And he is really, really good at it. Here's the other thing that he has. He has 10 other buddies on the offensive line, in the offense, to help him deal with the stresses. And I guarantee he knows come Sunday, he knows what his top 3 stressors are. Meaning, hey, that lineman over there, that defensive end right there, and that corner, they're the top 3 ones that I really have to worry about. I have to worry about the 11, but I know those 3 guys. So what does he do? He goes and grabs a lineman and says, hey, you need to get him. He has friends who help him deal with his stresses. They block for him. They block his stresses. I love that analogy because I think we can incorporate the people around us to help block certain stresses that come in. And as the holidays start rolling around, my wife and I, we kind of joke about this sometimes when we go somewhere, maybe a family gathering or something like that. And it's like, babe, I need you to block that person today. Tonight, you're going to block that person. And she's like, okay, if you block that person, cool. They help us deal with that. They help us deal with that. It's cool with that. It's great that way. Incorporate that. Use the people around you to help deal with those stresses. And here's the solution. It's love. Isn't that cheesy? Isn't that esoteric? You can't measure it. We don't know, but it's love. That is the solution to so many of those stresses. And let me dive into that. And it's not just that kind of love. How many people have bought a dog or gotten a dog or a cat or a pet during COVID? And here's why. It helps them deal with stress. And that's such a great thing. It's so awesome. Dr. John Medina, who wrote Brain Rules, I love this statement. Relationships are our chief survival tool. It helped us survive as a species. It's helped us survive all of the crazy things up until this point. It's going to continue to help us with all of these things, with the stresses that we have from COVID. It is relationships. We need to double down on our relationships when it comes to helping us deal with stress and all of that stuff. The quality of your life is in direct proportion to the quality of your relationships. I love that quote from Tony Robbins. It's so good. It's so good, and it's so true. So it's not just Dr. Andrew thinking up of these crazy things when it comes to huge issues, when it comes to health. I base all of this on some of the best research out there, and I would really guarantee, and I would tell you and encourage you to go and check out some of these books from being able to reverse dementia and Alzheimer's. And I did say that correctly, reverse. Prevent and reverse dementia and Alzheimer's. This is a really big deal in our family because we lost my mom at the age of 67 to dementia and Alzheimer. And I didn't know that there was things that we could be doing to help her not even get to that point. Do you think my brothers and sisters are reading this book? We absolutely are. But it's not just that. Autoimmune issues, thyroid issues, depression, all of those things are reversible and preventable. What all of these doctors and researchers are coming out and saying, and by the way, it has nothing to do with pharmacology. It has to do with the lifestyle choices that you're making right now and how well your body deals with stress, depending on whether you will have these things or not. And I hope that gives you guys a lot of hope out there, because there's a lot of people thinking, I have a thyroid issue, I'm going to deal with it for the rest of my life. I have depression, I'm going to deal with it for the rest of my life. I am starting to develop issues from dementia and Alzheimer's. I'm going to develop it, or I'm going to have to deal with that for the rest of my life. So much of the science is saying that's not true. So check those things out. Again, if you have questions, let us know. We're happy to help in those areas. It's so much fun to help people and give people hope when it comes to that stuff. So here's summing up. Exercise, water, and love. It'll change everything in your life. And it will in so many ways. Again, I told you guys, you knew the secrets to stress management already, but maybe you didn't understand how deep this goes. And what a big deal it is to make sure that our bodies are moving the way that it should, we're drinking enough water, and we're really doubling down on those relationships because it's such a big deal. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up, and because people always ask me this question all of the time, why is a chiropractor talking about this? Don't you guys just pop bones and help people with low back pain or sciatica? Small part of my job is. There's a huge part of my job that is helping people deal with the stresses in their lives. So why do people come in and check this out? And I'll tell you real quickly, it's for wellness. And I know wellness is kind of almost a throwaway word anymore. How do you define wellness? Here's how we define it. You have to eat well, you have to move well, you have to think well, you have to do all of those things at the same time for a period of time, and then you're going to be well. You have to do all of those things at the same time in order to achieve wellness. And that's what we help people do.
Thank you so much, Dr. Andrew, and thank you everyone for watching. Please remember to subscribe to Natural Grocers channel and watch out for more presentations in the future from Natural Grocers. Thank you.